everyone, this is Tom with Fresh Vintage Garage. Today we're checking out a smoke machine, which obviously this is not a smoke machine. This is the ICON T8 Professional Scan Tool. If you haven't seen this video, definitely check it out. The reason I have this up here, and I'm going to pull this off the screen now, is we started getting EVAP codes, and that led us to this guy here, the ICON Diagnostic Smoke Machine from Harbor Freight. Big shout out and props to them for sending this over and sponsoring this video. That's really, really cool. I didn't even know this thing existed until a couple weeks ago when I saw it on their website. And in thinking about the EVAP codes that we were seeing, I'm going to try and walk and talk while I open this. Thinking about the EVAP codes we were seeing, we started seeing things like vacuum leaks, or maybe a coolant leak where you had like a pinhole or something in a vacuum line or a coolant line, or exhaust leaks and so on and so forth. That's what this is designed for, sorry, it's kind of like a puzzle here. That's what this is designed for, to actually chase those leaks down that you're not going to see with the naked eye, or like readily available to see. The trickier, harder, a little bit harder diagnosis to see things like water intrusion. If you have a sunroof or something that's leaking on the gasket, or something even as simple as a gas cap. But we're going to do a few things. We're going to open this up. I have no idea what's in here, so owner's manual, we'll set that up there. And packing. This is very much an unboxing, so bear with us, because we are going to do a couple unofficial, like non-scientific tests outside. We're going to actually do some EVAPs, like detection. So we'll get into this case in just a minute. Set this back here. And the big guy's in here. There's that. Let me move this box. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say huge props to Harbor Freight for Made in the USA. You do not see that very much at all anymore. So big shout out, props to them. Let me just set this on the floor. So no surprises here. The kit's there, and the actual smoke machine is here. I will say, if you buy one of these, you will need, and most shops are going to have compressed air, so you will need some kind of air compressor situation, and a 12-volt car battery, some kind of 12-volt power source, which we have both of outside. More packing material. This is very well packed. Like, exceptionally well packed. Wow. And I hope I don't pull this thing out upside down or anything. There we go. So here's our diagnostic smoke machine. Very chunky, very solid. And let me move this box out of the way here. So really feels solid. It's cool that they have the icon on the side here. And let me push this over to the side. There we go. Let's take a look. Let's see what's in here. Not too many surprises in here. These are all the parts and pieces, from the adapters to the actual unit to hook and connect everything up. We're going to give the manual a quick once over, because I don't proclaim to be a smoke machine expert, but we're going to run through the manual just real quick, just to make sure everything's 100%, and then we're going to get some compressed air into this thing and a 12-volt battery, and we'll start making some smoke here. So we are outside here in our unofficial testing area, so to speak. And I'm not going to go through every single part and piece here, but I just wanted to break down a few things here. This is called an EVAP port adapter kit, and if you look at it, you can actually see, like, imagine you actually had a port on the intake somewhere. You could, hook that up here so you can put the smoke directly into the intake. Thinking about a little bit larger items, say you wanted to use this on a tailpipe, or maybe you had a larger diameter intake, you could use that here, and again, put the smoke in this end, and it's going to come through here. We'll show you some of that stuff in action on some of the cars here. A bunch of adapters here for various sized odds and ends in the actual car, engine bay, and whatnot. Each one of these ICON smoke fluids are 2 ounces, and the bottle says check fluid level every 50 to 100 tests. So my impression of that is you can actually get 50 to 100 tests-ish out of one bottle. So take that with a grain of salt, knowing you may have a big leak and it used a lot of smoke or something to get done. This guy here is kind of cool, and we'll show you it in action on the car, but as you pump it up, you can fill a gap like an exhaust pipe or an intake or something, so pretty neat to see. And we'll show you the pass through the smoke. This is actually called a pass-through device, so we'll show you that. This here is not just a flashlight. Granted, it is a flashlight, but this flips up to reveal a yellow light, and I won't blind you with it, but that thing is bright, and that's the low setting. That's the high setting, and we're outside. Like, let me step outside here. That's a direct, not direct sunlight. It is cloudy out, but that's how bright that thing is. So definitely a really nice flashlight slash smoke light, so to speak. And big props to them big shout out to Harbor Freight for making this USB-C and not micro USB. So what we're going to do is if you look down here, we have the smoke machine sitting here. And forgive the mess, we're actually making another video about a battery tester, so make sure you check that video out too, please. But we're working with this battery, so it kind of worked out perfectly because this needs 12 volts, and we have a brand new, pretty much charged up, fully charged battery here. So we're going to power this and then plug it into the air. We have our air compressor, as you can see. So we're going to start tinkering with a car here and show you some of the capabilities of this stuff. So we have our actual smoke machine here, and you notice I have a hook that I'm actually grabbing. This was in the accessory kit that was over there, and this is really, really meant for hanging on the hood latch, so to speak. But this little guy here is your actual smoke tank, and this is pretty much like you're checking a mini car engine oil type check. So you don't want to overfill this. And if this was an actual shop, I'd probably put half of this bottle in or something just to start with. But I'm going to pour in maybe a quarter of the bottle just because we're going to test it here for a little bit. So let me do this. There we go. And that was, it's actually about half the bottle, so probably a little more than I wanted to put in there. But let's do an official test here, so to speak, and see how full that got it. It is, yeah, it's down here. So it's down here somewhere. I can't tell exactly where it's at, but so you probably are going to get most of, if not this entire bottle in here. So we're just going to seal that up. It's nice and tight. Looking at the front here real quick, we didn't explain in the video earlier. This here, and let me come up here to show you. So you have power, you have smoke, like confirmation that there's smoke pressure, and then there's a start button that'll actually trigger it to start it. And then you build pressure here, and then you can watch this bleed. If you have a leak, you can watch the pressure bleed down. And this also is kind of like a rate. So if you need a little bit more higher pressure, say you have a small leak, you don't need that much pressure. But if you have a bigger leak, you can kind of crank this up, according to the capabilities of your compressed air that you have. And it'll actually give you a faster flow. Maybe you have a small leak that'll turn into a big leak, or a leak that only happens when you have enough pressure kind of situation. But it's nice to see this adjustability on this. So we're going to hook it up to the compressed air and to the 12 volts, and then we're going to start tinkering with the cars. Let's do that right now. So as you can see, we have the ICON smoke machine hooked up. We actually have it hanging from the hood latch here. Let me show you a few things we have going on. It is sitting in ready. I'm not going to hit the start button until we actually start generating smoke, but I'll explain how to use this here in just a minute. We have it hooked up to the positive terminal, but it says in the manual, do not just go straight positive and straight negative. So we hooked it up here to the strut nut here, so to speak. So you can hear the fan is running. We also have compressed air from the compressor behind us hooked up. And then this is our tube right here. And forgive us, this is our very silly, non-scientific test. We went to Advance and we bought some vacuum line, and we randomly, that's literally a push pin, folks. We randomly put some holes in here, so crossing our fingers we'll be able to see this. Okay, so take two. The cap was a little tiny loose in there through no fault of its own. It's just the diameter of the vacuum line. So to start off here, we're kind of sitting idle, so we want to push that, You can hear the fan kind of like lug down a little bit. You can see I'm starting to build pressure. Now this shows you pressure, and it also shows here the rate, like the flow rate. So you'll see a little ball move up here pretty quick as I crank this up. There we go. And you can see my pressure is increasing. So I want to grab my light and see if any smoke's coming out of this thing. So I'm sitting at about 12 inches of water here, it looks like. Let me crank this up a little bit more. And I can actually feel it coming out of the end here. So just to show you, let me pull this end off of here, and you'll see that go down. There we go. So we're getting smoke now. And let me grab the light, and I'll show you the smoke coming out of here. You can kind of see it there in the light. And then when I put that plug back in, there we go. My flow drops to nothing. My pressure's back up. So even with the pinholes I put in here, I'm surprised that it's not getting any of that out of there. But, oh, okay, there we go. So me just taking that out, let me do that. Let me make that hole a little bit bigger. Okay, so now you can see it's actually changing. Let me grab our light. I can't see it that well. I can see a little tiny bit of smoke coming out of there. And let me do this. Let me crank this up. There we go. See a little tiny bit of smoke coming, not much though. But we're going to try this on the Accord here that we're standing in front of. We have a kind of a real world practical application we're going to do. Let us set it up right now. So quick update what we did here, and I'm holding the light. You can see how it almost vanishes, but we have this adapter with the initial tube, like the initial nozzle here. And what we're going to do is I'll turn this off, or down I should say. Oops. I can't see what I'm doing, I'm sorry. There we go. Okay, so turn it off. It's still running, but what we want to do is just take this and we're going to put it in the actual rubber intake tube here. And you can see how that quickly will fill and then seal, because I just got to pump this up and you can see it expanding. So I only need, that's probably a little overkill there, but I want to make sure it's sealed. Yeah, that's not going anywhere. So let me turn that up. Jay, thank you turning that up there. And what we're doing here is the smoke's coming out of this end, and we'll give it a minute, but we took the PCV valve out, and you can already see it here. Let me try and get a good angle on it. You can see the smoke coming out right here. There we go. So it's a great way to test an EVAP setup if you're looking. And actually I see something, so you can actually, just a great call out right here where you wouldn't think it was leaking. It's actually sneaking out there too, so that's kind of a surprise. We wouldn't have expected it to be. That could potentially be a little bit of a like a vacuum leak, all things considered. So that's pretty cool we did this. I don't see anything else, but this light is super handy. This shade of yellow is very, very good for this. Okay, so just real quick, I don't recommend breathing in these fumes, but if you do breathe them in, it's almost like cheap birthday candles melting on a birthday cake. But all joking aside, we just plugged the PCV valve back in, and you can see we have a little bit of a leak still going on here and one right down here. And I think if we looked hard enough, I think there's one underneath here too. But so my guess is this whole hose, it would probably benefit if we just went out and got a brand new hose here to install, just so there was zero chances of any kind of vacuum leaks here. But we don't see anything else. We are going to try the exhaust to see if we can spot some exhaust leaks. So give us a second. We will set that up right now. So as you can see, we're on the passenger side of the car. This is just long enough to where we have it still hooked up to the same battery, and then the stud on the strut there. And looking at this, we have this running, so we are getting a little bit of smoke, but we're going to try and look for exhaust leaks, and we're going to use this. So we're going to take and plug it in here, and then this will fit. The other thing we were using for the intake was just the right size where it won't fit in the tailpipe, but we're going to use this because I'm sure this will fit. But I'm going to crank this thing up to 11 kind of thing to get as much flow because we're trying to fill up the exhaust. So that's about as much as it's going to give me. And I think what I'll do, there we go. So we got some smoke. So I'll probably have to stand here for a couple minutes. Actually, you know what? Nope. There we go. So we can just kind of hang out for a couple minutes. Obviously, the stupid statement of the video, don't do this while your exhaust is hot. It does say in the manual, though, that if you have a hot catalytic converter, it will eat some of that smoke. So keep that in mind if you are actually doing a test like this. But we're going to let this run. We'll give it, I don't know, 5 minutes or something, and see if we start seeing any smoke coming out of the exhaust. So quick recap, it's been about 5 minutes, give or take. We have barely any pressure off of this thing right now, and our flow is still through the roof. Like if I turn this down, you can see the ball drop. But I've been looking under here, and this thing is extremely bright, and I have not seen any leaks. So the Accord's exhaust here is getting a really good clean bill of health kind of thing. Just as a side note, there's a really cool magnet in this thing, so that's perfect for under the hood and whatnot. So checking out the exhaust after a couple minutes here, I'm looking up through the entire exhaust system, and I'm not going to show you all that, but you can see the amount of smoke coming out of the adapter here. And let me just grab this. I don't see any smoke coming out of the exhaust. So the Accord's getting a clean bill of health here for the exhaust, but look at all the smoke that's coming out of this thing. Definitely putting out some serious smoke. But the exhaust looks good, so really, really handy way to check the EVAP system, check for leaks. I never would have guessed. Let me turn this thing off so I don't blind you. I never would have guessed that that intake tube actually had the leaks that it did. You can see how well this thing works. Big shout out to Harbor Freight for sending this to us, and the fact that it's made in America is A-OK in our book. With that, if you like scan tools, if you like tech, if you like keeping your cars certified fresh, if you like shop equipment, Fresh Vintage Garage is your channel. Please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.